This week on Tower Dive.
This ain't my fantasy.
That's not what you said last night. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Tower Dive.
Dive.
I, of course, am your humble host, Captain Hooks, and with me, as always, is the abnormally large-headed Pan the Man.
It's regular sized.
Well, I said I'm humble, so I'm giving you the egghead.
Oh, like a metaphor.
Like, yeah, it's a thing. It's a dichotomy thing.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have a big head than look like a high school theater teacher. What are you guys playing this year? You got cats?
Actually, I think maybe we'll go like Goldilocks 2.
Oh,
it's like the trial of Goldilocks, I think is what it is.
Dust off a classic and go into the woods.
Maybe listen, maybe you'll just do the Rocky Horror Picture Show and really throw it all up into
yeah. Or go for the big one and just do Les Mis.
No, that's more like lame Miz. But I'm glad you went with the high school drama teacher as opposed to the coffee shop beatnik poet.
No, you're
where
not
I'm giving
quite
the snaps.
There. Not quite there. You need
I'm pretty close.
You like an artisanal cigarette and like a cup of espresso.
Yeah, but it has to be served in the largest possible coffee receptacle allowable by man.
It's a Quadro espresso.
It's like it's served in some sort of garbage can.
Just a punch bowl. Just a punch bowl with a handle.
Like, yeah, seriously. It's just some sort of massive, I don't even know what. Also, I think I have too much facial hair. I have too much man beard. I need to thin this out significantly and just draw that on with like a felt tip pen. But a brown one. Something gentle, delicate.
Yeah, that's nice. You don't want to irritate your lip skin.
No. It's got to be just above the lip.
Yeah.
Just something nice.
Yeah.
So what's going on, man?
Oh, just chilling.
Just living the dream, as it were.
Playing a ton of Ezreal.
I've noticed you've played a ton of Ezreal. I've noticed because I've been there.
Yeah. It's good shit.
Yeah, you are playing blue Ezreal, which Apto said was a no-no. So I mean, you're bucking.
So look, I did two. I did a blue Ezreal, and that felt pretty good. And then I did like regular standard build Ezreal, and that didn't feel as good.
It felt quite less good.
So maybe Apto was wrong on this one.
I'm gonna say he's not. We're just not in Korean Challenger.
Maybe
it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit different.
That could be it.
We're playing You're not playing against Faker. You're playing against Widowmaker. I don't know.
Widowmaker with a Y.
WY. Yeah. Widowmaker. Widowmaker.
XXL.
420 YOLO.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's actually, aside from our theatrics and bad jokes, there is some weird, interesting, kind of surprising information that we're just going to sort of get right into here. So the Riot made an announcement for their 2016 changes to the LCS, spring split.
Right.
So this is jumping in like right now.
Yeah.
Like this is where we're starting in a few days, or actually in a day.
Yeah.
As we're recording this, it's tomorrow. So they're changing this right away. So, I mean, I don't know. I have to, again, assume that this has been discussed prior to them making this announcement. But I feel the timing of the announcement a little odd. I mean, I know it's already starting, but I think this would have been something to probably say, I don't know.
Well, a lot of it affects the challenger scene, and like the end results.
Sure.
Nothing's really happening during the split as far as the rule changes are concerned.
Well, I mean, it does. There was with like subs and loans of players, and then the playoffs and the reseeding and things. There's a lot of stuff, and it's really, I mean, a lot of it's really good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think ultimately for the health of League of Legends as a whole, these are necessities, especially since this preseason was rife with teams selling spots, and I think Riot became very cognizant of that.
Well, how could they not?
I'm just saying, I think they realize the problem that it is. It's a much larger problem than it is. No big deal,
Yeah, no big deal. Just half the team sold their spot,
and others tried and failed.
Yeah.
I think that's the worst part about it is you think about all the teams that sold, and then there were still two other teams that attempted and unsuccessfully did not sell their teams.
They did it
and
so late.
really just have piss poor rosters.
Yeah. Well, there's no one left.
Yeah. Well, they weren't trying to get anybody.
Yeah. That's probably they
So
probably should have had a contingency
yeah,
for that.
right. Probably should have planned that you were going to have a team, and then when you didn't, it's like surprise. None of you guys have jobs.
Yeah. So let's break it down. What are these rule changes that are going into effect?
Okay, well, I'm just going to read them what they have off of here because
Uh-huh.
they're just pretty quick, digestible blurbs about them.
Blurbs.
For the playoffs, during the playoffs, matchups will now be reseeded in the semifinal round so that the number 1 seed will face the lowest remaining seed and the number 2 seed will face the highest remaining seed. This is designed to reduce the incentive to place lower in the regular LCS season to set up for an easier run to the playoff finals.
Yeah, I get that one.
Yeah, we'll also be closing a loophole so that going forward, any player who has competed in the CS playoffs will not be allowed to compete in any phase of the LCS playoffs, and vice versa.
I kind of get that too.
I like that. No, right off the bat,
Yeah.
that's a great rule. It makes more sense for the seeding because, yeah, you did definitely see teams kind of dogging it towards the end to be like, well, I know we're better than this team, so we'll lose this last game. We'll play Teemo mid and whatever and just fucking douche around because we can't get top 2, so we'll go for, 5th and take on whoever and destroy them and be, smooth sailing all the way in.
Right.
So I definitely like that. That makes more sense. It does create competitive integrity amongst the teams.
And I also get that Challenger Series ruling too, where, if you send one of your players on your roster and you loan them over to a Challenger team, they can't be in your playoffs, right? You can't bring in any more ringers.
Right. Well, I mean, that was a notorious little coast move. Remember when they sent all their really good players to their Challenger team to win the Challenger Series, and they dogged it on their regular team, and it was just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it was
sort of like, that seems kind of shady. Shady McShades a lot.
Something shady from Coast, who knew?
No way. No, they're totally legit. Everything they do is completely on the up and up.
Yeah, definitely.
Nothing weird. So number 2 is competitive patch tournament realm. Champions who have not been available on the live service for more than 1 week, previously 2, will automatically be restricted.
Yeah.
They lessen the time due to a couple of factors, but primarily because a shorter break from release helps to preserve a connection between the live environment that fans are playing at home and our pros are used to practicing and the tournament realm. This is kind of a lesser thing.
Yeah.
You're just going to see new champions quicker.
I get why they want this to happen. I don't necessarily agree with it.
It's just, to me, I just feel like this is an NBD rule, no big deal. It's just the only problem that this could raise is if Riot releases an OPS champion right off the bat.
Yeah, and then it just becomes an instant ban.
And it becomes, which usually are. New champions tend to be traditionally, especially if they're even they show the slightest inkling of being strong, they're immediately banned out.
Yeah, and even if they come out and they're like riddled with bugs, they can just be disabled. This rule isn't necessarily hard and fast. But at the same time, I don't know. I think that might put a little too much pressure on players to learn the new champ as quickly as possible.
I have actually,
which I think that's a core value for Riot. It's just one that I don't really agree with.
I like the fact that they are going to make new champions relevant because they do want less of a disconnect between professional and the community that they're playing.
I understand the thought behind it.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think this rule is that big of a deal because I think, like you said, the fact is they're probably going to be banned out for a majority of the games early on.
Yeah.
Unless they're a garbage champion, which then it doesn't matter. So so either way, I feel like it's just sort of a throwaway rule.
Yeah, it just seems to open the door for a lot of cheese, I think.
Potentially, which isn't always a bad thing in some cases, but it's whatever. We'll see. I think it makes teams have to be a little more cognizant of what's happening in the game right away, because they're not like, oh well, this champion's not going to be enabled for another 2 weeks. I don't really give a fuck what they do.
Right, you can't practice it because it's not going to be there for you.
Exactly, you're not worried about practicing because you're not worried about seeing it or having to pick it. You're not worried about having to counter it or having to be countered when doing it.
Yeah.
So I like it in that regard.
And I guess it's even less of a deal because Riot doesn't release new champs twice a month like they used to.
Yeah, it's not nearly like they used to. So, big deal. So, twice this season we're going to have to worry about that.
Right. It's not NBD.
Yeah, NBD. That's a throwaway. Subs and loans will be limiting each player contractually to one organization, but also adding a formal loan process by which players can be listed on more than one roster, allowing for movement between CS and LCS rosters. Now that one comes a little weird sounding to me.
It seems strange because they also just previously stated that if you play in a CS playoff, you can't play in an LCS playoff.
But this doesn't talk about playoffs, so this is clearly this is clearly targeted at during the regular season, especially if somebody is underperforming heavily.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, so you could be like, well, we want to take on loan so and so from team whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. But then can you really bring in a ringer then from like an LCS team?
Well, here's the caveat on that. Think about how many teams in the main LCS are at the rule for foreign players.
That's true. Yeah, but I mean, it's the other way around. That's what I'm talking about. So let's say you're kind of struggling in the Challenger series, and you're like, man, we just fucking need a better support, like just this week or for the next 2 weeks. You can be like, hey, TSM, maybe we borrow Yellow Star every other week or something.
I don't think that is more like, I think because the LCS teams, I think would be so much more focused on winning their split. I don't believe that they're going to bog down their star players with, hey, can you just play with this team? We'll give you $5,000. They just want to win. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I just don't see a team. That's like that's like sending down your best pitcher to pitch in a minor league game for no good reason at all. It just doesn't seem. It doesn't seem like the other way that the train is going to go in the other direction.
I guess what
I feel like it's a one-way trip.
I guess what it then does is it encourages teams to have just more players on their roster, and so if their subs are playing that week,
which is what Riot clearly wants them to do.
It gives subs some fluidity, and if they're not playing a week, they can play in CS maybe.
Yeah, and it also gives, I guess, sure.
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
that seems a track. I like that.
Yeah, it's not a bad rule. I feel like they've done things that were all pointing in that eventual direction.
Sure.
And the final one is the revamped promotion/relegation system. This is the biggest one, I think, personally.
Yeah, because everyone knew auto-relegation was a bad idea.
And everyone really kind of felt, especially after last season and how things turned out in this offseason, that this was it was going to be a hot topic now because of the way things
I don't know if this really addresses the whole situation yet.
But it partially does. And we'll get into that. Let me read the rule first, and then we'll do our evaluation. Auto promotion/relegation will be replaced with a best-of-5 tournament with double elimination after round 1. We believe that over time, we can gradually reduce the relegation risk that LCS teams face to encourage greater stability of leagues year over year, as well as helping LCS organizations attract long-term sponsors. Please read for full information. Well, whatever.
Do you want to read the full T's and C's?
I mean, do you want me to read the full? No,
come on. Put me to sleep.
I was going to say, do we have that long of a time to do in the roster? I mean, this is not a lot. They give an example, like it's round 1, day 1, 10th place team LCS versus 2nd place team CS. Round 2, 8th place versus match 1 winner.
Yeah. So it's 3 LCS teams have to play in the tournament, 2 Challenger Series teams have to play in the tournament.
2 LCS teams, not 3. One's auto relegated, isn't it? Still.
There's no more auto relegation.
Oh.
Right.
10th, 8th. Oh yeah, look at that. So you're right. Yeah, 8th, 9th, 10th. You're right. My mistake. And then the first place, and then the winner of match 1, and then the loser of matches 1 or 2 and 3.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it. I mean, I think it's good.
Yeah.
Because again, like they said, they want to promote long-lasting, subsistence, so to speak, of these teams. You don't want to have to every season be like, oh, well, this team's gone and this team's gone and they're selling their spot and this team's in, but they're going to sell their spot, because that's harmful to the league.
Right.
And Riot, I'm glad, finally recognizes that is a bad thing.
Yeah. The thing that worries me about this is that it just seems like it's going to be really easy for mediocre teams to stick around.
But on the same token is that it's also going to make getting into the LCS mean more for challenger teams.
Right. So then they
because
can
you
sell their
busted your
spawns
ass
for
in this
more money.
huge, and it's going to be much harder for a challenger team.
Yeah.
So you're gonna, it's going to make you sell your team for more money, obviously.
That's all we're doing. We're just driving up the prices of LCS spots.
Make that stock rise.
Yeah.
No,
now if you got it.
No, and that's what I'm saying. And yeah, you know what? Maybe that could be a potential, side effect of this. But I think it does make the teams that are playing for the spot want the spot more, and it makes the teams that are potentially going to lose their spot work a little harder to keep it.
Yeah, I think
where there's no more auto relegation, it's kind of like, you still have a chance.
Yeah.
Where a team like TDK maybe would still be in LCS now.
Once they got other players. Yeah.
Well, since they only got to play 3 weeks with their players, whatever it was.
That makes sense because once you, it's also nice. Like if you're having a really bad split and you're pretty sure you're going to be in 10th place, your season's not necessarily over.
No, you're not gonna, you're not just preparing to pack it in and just gonna be like whatever, this sucks.
You just gotta get.
It gives a team like Impulse this season a legitimate chance to stay in. Listen, our team is garbage now, but maybe we can, not.
But is that a good thing because a team like Impulse doesn't have any interest in maintaining their team?
Maybe now they will because they can potentially keep their LCS spot.
Maybe.
I don't know. True. Maybe it reignites some kind of interest where, hey, we can do something here.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can make happen because they have an actual chance instead of being automatically relegated. But you feel bad because, again, a team like TDK, who now has a really nice looking roster in the Challenger Series, if they had that going in, maybe they would be in the LCS still.
Yeah, and maybe they won't make it into the LCS next split because of how difficult it is to get into.
Exactly, and then they get the whammy twice.
Whammy. Yeah.
Although I do have to say, just based on paper alone, they're much better than the bottom 3 teams, I feel.
Yeah, probably.
And again, it's on paper, which means very, very little in the grand scheme of things. But on paper, they're better than teams 10th, 9th, and 8th, I feel.
So what happens in the long run?
Well, I think
let's play this out a little bit.
Yeah, personally, I think this is the first step towards franchises. I think the next logical step that Riot would take, because I do feel eventually that there will be loopholes that are found in this as well, because these teams, while they seem to be stupid, are really good at finding ways around things.
Yeah.
For people that, when they run their business, they run it like a bunch of entitled children when they're in the season, they really are good at finding ways to buck rules.
Yeah.
Or that for some reason are either written
rules
explicitly. Yeah, well, I looked at this and I found that this and this and this don't actually pertain to us. Great. You can't pay your players a living wage, but you have fucking navigated our rule system and found a way to be a douche. So I do think that there is the chance that will be found, and I think this is the first step towards franchises, which a lot of people have spoken about. I know Richard Lewis made a tweet about it. And I know he made some response to somebody that said a stupid thing, and I don't remember off the top of my head exactly what it was. But
nobody could remember all the responses Richard Lewis has to make to stupid tweets.
Like the statement made to Richard Lewis was dumb. It had to do about spending money, and Richard Lewis was like, "Yeah, because spending lots of money has always proven to be the best form of success and sustainability in eSports."
Yeah, just dump money on the problem until it
goes away. That makes it always go away.
Yeah.
Look at all those teams that did that and made them work.
Yeah, absolutely worked.
So I personally, like I said, I think the next logical step would be franchises, because that's what you need to survive. That's what you're going to need to create actual, true stability.
Yeah. Now, by franchise, you just mean basically teams. Right, like a brand almost, not just,
I mean teams that you can count on every year to be there. Like the New York Yankees are not all of a sudden one day going to sell their spot to some team in Toledo, to some guy in Toledo, and they're going to become the Toledo Yankees. It's not going to happen like that. You're creating within your league. These teams are here, and if you then choose to expand and grow, you are offering new, opportunities to people who want to get in the league. And maybe that's through some kind of a tournament or something, because I mean, in other sports, it's just voted on by the owners. Do we want to expand? Yes or no? A majority at this percent, agrees then.
Okay, so let's say in like 3-4 years, if League is still around, the TSMs and CLGs and Dignitases and maybe Energies and Immortals.
Franchises. Those three teams that you just rolled off there with
Yeah. So
Dignitas and CLG, those are franchises because they're teams backed by larger, well-established organizations that are focused and driven by creating long-lasting success within esports as a whole, not just an individual game.
So, like in 3 or 4 or 5 years, if League of Legends is still a thing, these teams like CLG and Dignitas and TSM, instead of there being like a relegation tournament or a promotion tournament, they would vote and be like, we're expanding this to 16 teams now.
Well, it wouldn't just be them; it would be all of the teams.
Yeah, but teams of those caliber.
What I'm saying is, you would say, we are, say season 7. We'll just use
10 teams in the league.
We'll say, Riot's like, okay, season 7, we are creating, League of the League of Legends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's where it's going to start off, it's LCS format. This is the what's the word that I'm looking for? Like the fucking Pokemon, man.
The what?
Pokemon. They evolve. The evolution. Excuse me. Thank you.
Really? Evolution?
Yeah, I couldn't think of the word. I was looking. It's saying
embarrassing.
It's not embarrassing. It's just it was on the tip of my tongue, lips, and this is the evolution of the LCS. We're keeping LCS format, but now we're going in starting with 8 teams, and here is our 8 teams. There will not be any, relegation.
So that would be they would shrink this league.
Well, I'm just saying again. Yeah, I mean, if they want to stick with 10, stick with 10. I'm just just sort of spouting off here. It's 8 teams in your TSM, Dignitas, CLG, Immortals, Energy, blah blah blah. You run down the list.
Yeah.
And those are your teams. These are your franchises. Whereas maybe the players will change. These teams you can count on to be here every single season. Right. And it's the Challenger Series then as more of a minor leagues.
Right.
The thing about the flip side of that coin is then you don't have, new blood and as regards to teams coming into the league as often.
Well, but if we could start treating trades and player movement as, professional job decisions and not, petty fucking attacks on Facebook, that'd be okay.
That's what I'm saying. Is it whereas some of the things it creates might seem off-putting, it also helps to stabilize the entirety of the professional environment. Yeah. Where, like you said, player trades, free agency, contracts, all of that stuff becomes much more legit and meaningful and less petty and less personal, where you're going to create deadlines and you're going to say, at this point in time, you cannot move players anymore. Your roster is locked, which will, again, as they move forward to longer splits where you're playing, best of 3, best of 5, whatever it is, instead of 2 games a week, it's going to, it'll make having a deeper roster make more sense.
Yeah. Give some players a break, keep other people going.
Yeah.
Like that.
And it'll treat the challenger scene, which I think then it should be, longer, almost as long as the LCS is, which maybe it is. I don't know. I don't really pay enough attention to the challenger scene, but
that's the first problem.
I only pay attention to it at the end. Well, yeah, and there was actually a post about that on Reddit. Is like, why is it so difficult to follow the challenger scene?
Yeah.
Well, it actually kind of is. That's one thing at a time. It'll treat that as a very, very specific minor leagues.
Yeah, I think it could be good because that would kind of do away with the rat race that is the Challenger Series right now, right? It's not about winning the Challenger Series and getting into the LCS. It's about playing really fucking good so franchises will pick you up.
Exactly. It I think makes players It helps them develop more because instead of playing, 13, 14 games, whatever it is, they're going to play significantly more games, get significantly more exposure. Maybe instead, maybe the Challenger Series, it always feels like it's like 6 teams. Maybe that goes to 8 teams.
10 teams.
10 teams, whatever.
45 teams. 45 teams.
200 teams. But maybe you give more teams opportunities like that because it's being treated like a minor league system where a team who's having struggles with their bottom lane can be like, well, look, we see that this team and this team is doing really good, so maybe we can initiate some kind of a trade or some kind of a buyout or some sort of
it would probably be a buyout. I doubt any self-respecting player would be like, I'm going to go to the Challenger Series now.
Well, it wouldn't be up to them. It'd be that would again come into the contracts because, like in baseball, when you give options, players have options in their contract, and what options are how many times you can be sent down to the minor leagues.
You can be sent down to the minor leagues. Like you can make it, and they can be like, get out.
Sure, if you're struggling, you could be brought up to the major leagues. Start off super hot, and you go on like a 3-month slump. They'll send you back down for season. Because you're not doing any good to yourself. Your confidence is shot. You're not helping your team any.
That's harsh.
So they'll send you back down. But like I said, in contracts, there are options. And when they say, because sometimes if you listen to sports radio or you watch ESPN and they'll talk about a player and them being out of options, it means they can't be sent down anymore.
Oh.
So it means that the choice...
I didn't know that.
The choice the team has is keep the player and try and hope that they work it out on their own, or release them. So that would have to come into play where you would be treating this, and you'd let sister teams, teams have sister teams in the Challenger Series, and then treat it as your minor leagues. But again, like a player like Doublelift, might not have any options on his contract.
Right.
He might not agree to sign a contract where he can get sent down to their farm team, so to speak. But a player like Stixay, on the other hand, where you have high hopes for, but you don't know what you're going to get out of him, he would have options where he'd be like, Stixay, he's just not cutting it right now. You're not doing what we need you to do. So-and-so has been working in the Challenger scene. He's doing really good right now. We're going to send you down there so you can keep playing instead of just jettisoning you to the bench or just releasing you or outright because you have this option. We're going to send you down. You're going to keep playing. You're going to get better. And then hopefully, maybe in the summer split, you've gotten whatever was going on in your head. You've righted that, and we can try this again. Maybe then everything will be better for you.
And that seems just a lot healthier, right? Because if you're sitting on the bench, you're not
learning anything.
You're winning, but you're not getting any better. Or you're not winning. You're making money, but you're not getting any better.
Your game isn't improving anyway.
Yeah.
Because you're not being placed in proper competition, and that's the whole thing. With minor leagues is that it's better than sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
It's better than not helping at all.
That's true. At least you're keeping warm,
Yeah. Well, yeah, sure. You're keeping it warm for the other people, Yellowstar, sit here. I don't sit on the bench. Sorry. And again, I mean, this is stuff I say season 7, but this is this is far off stuff.
Yeah, season 10.
This is stuff where maybe the seeds will be planted in season 7.
This is when by the time League of Legends 2 releases, this will be the scene.
Hopefully. I do think that this lends itself towards the sustained health of esports as a whole, not just specifically League of Legends, because the first esport to adopt this model and shows that it works, you are a trailblazer, because you have now done what everyone who watches esports, who knows even the littlest bit about traditional sports, has said that they should do for forever.
Yeah, no more open tournaments. I guess unless you want to treat it like golf, right? That's
the other way. That's the other way.
The other way is to treat it like golf. You have pro tournaments and you have pro-ams and you have
pro-ams and things like that. But the League and Riot Games has very clearly shown that they don't want that.
No, because they want complete control over the system.
Which Now, my system makes more sense. When
Yeah.
you say you want complete control, it's like, good. Well, here, then you have 8 teams, 10 teams, whatever it is. You can't get rid of them. This is what they are.
Yeah, these
Unless
are your
they
teams.
voted, that they want to leave or they want to move or they want to give up their spot. It has to be agreed upon by everyone. It can't just be like Dignitas says, we don't want to play anymore, we're out.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't work that way. Doesn't happen like that.
Make it work.
Yeah. So I definitely think that this is a model that Riot wants, and maybe the teams don't want it. I don't know. I can't speak for them. I think I want it.
It would pretty much kill League of Legends in IEM, right?
Probably.
It would just be
IEM would become IEM would basically be a
show match.
Yeah,
show. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't mean anything.
Fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Kind of sucks for IEM.
It would hold very little, but I mean, think about it. Really, what weight does IEM hold currently?
TSM's world champions. Come on,
exactly.
Weight.
Doesn't hold any weight.
Yeah.
IEM holds no weight. It's just treated as a show match. It's treated as a preseason. It's treated as this is what we're going to roll out for you right now. We don't even know if this is what our team's going to look like. If they shit the bed, it doesn't matter. It's not the LCS. That's how teams treat it. That's how fans look upon it.
Yeah. I feel like that's also how people should treat solo queue. It doesn't matter. It's not the LCS.
Exactly. No, I don't think any self-respecting fan looks at IEM and goes, this is the big times right here. Right here, this is where the fucking movers and shakers are.
There are people that look at it that way.
Roster.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. It's and that sucks, but that's where we're going. That's where IEM is going. It is a show match, and it can be a great show match.
Yeah,
you could do an awesome job with it. Like I said in a previous show, you can do IEM a couple of times a year in different areas to really give.
That's what they already do.
Well, no, they do twice.
3 or 4.
Is there?
Yeah.
I know there's San Jose season.
Yeah.
They did. Do they still do Katowice?
They still do Katowice.
Okay.
You can look it up. I think there's 4.
Is there?
Yeah. Because I think there's one in Germany.
Is there?
And I think there's one in maybe Poland.
That's
might have made that one up. Oh, that's Katowice.
That's Katowice.
But yeah, it's more than 2. Definitely.
Oh, maybe it is.
Yeah.
Season 10. Nope, no league. Nope, no league. San Jose, Cologne, and Katowice. So there's 3.
Oh, there's 3. I was close. You won Price is Right rules though.
Yeah. So fine. I'm even saying do more then.
Yeah, because
give more opportunity. Have an IEM New York.
That's where their market is. It's international tournaments.
Yeah, have IEM. Have IEM New York. Have IEM Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
You already have San Jose.
IEM Vienna. Fucking IEM Moscow. I'm going the other way.
Took it crazy. Too much.
Yeah. Too much. IEM Hong Kong.
But you could do. I mean, you could honestly 3. You can even do it as a preseason.
Yeah.
Mid-season, and then end of season.
Yeah. That's true. And people love international events.
Each side, you can do IEM Cologne, IEM Katowice, IEM fucking England, IEM Spain, whatever you want to do.
That's a great little competitive niche to be in too. It's just hosting international tournaments.
And those could be pro-ams.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I think it'd be great to get, 4 professional teams and 4 amateur teams.
Mm-hmm.
Or even better, grab 2, in America, you grab 2 American teams, 2 American amateur teams, 2 Korean teams, and then 2 wildcard region teams, and do the same exact thing in Europe. We have 2 European teams, 2 European AM teams, 2 Korean teams, 2 wildcard region teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and you get to see.
That could be great.
That's what I'm saying. And so all these young players get exposed to better competition, international play. You get to see other regions and how they do things.
Yeah. The really difficult part as far as hosting that kind of event would be getting the players there. Because some of these pro teams aren't going to have the funds to fly out a 5-man roster to fucking Cologne,
Sure.
So you're probably going to foot a little bit of the bill.
Right, but I don't think Intel's hard up for cash.
No. Intel might have enough money. And
I think the benefits of doing this, if you do it right, outweigh the negatives. Because let's just, for example, Look at how the LCS playoffs in Madison Square Garden fared.
Right. It was huge.
Those were sellouts, instant sellouts.
Yeah.
That was MSG, one of the most important arenas in the world. You sold that out with games of Impulse versus Team Liquid.
Yeah.
Imagine bringing in a Korean
third place games.
Yeah, imagine getting, CJ Entis or Najin or SKT or one of these teams to come in and play, and a couple of other teams. Maybe you get a Chinese team in there, where you get people who have never gotten a chance to see these teams up close. And the games don't fucking matter. They mean nothing other than being show matches.
I mean, there'll be probably prize money.
No, I'm just saying in terms of the competitive, they're not going towards Worlds.
It doesn't fuck up your league or anything.
Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't fuck up your points or anything. But they're important because you get to play in front of people that you wouldn't normally get to play in front of. I think for the players it's great. I think for the community it's great. I think for the game it's great.
Yeah. I think we just solved League of Legends.
Yeah, and then everyone who wants, League of Legends to be like it was, like with golf, you're just playing tournaments and stuff, you get 3 of those, you get 6 of those a year, 3 on this side, 3 on that side.
Yeah. I love it.
I think it's a great idea. And the fact that they haven't embraced that, and it is what it is, but
the logistics are difficult.
I'm sure that there are, and I'm sure it's not as easy as me just saying, do this and do this.
No. Look. You have to coordinate between North American LCS, European LCS, LCK, and LPL. I mean,
the beginning of the season, mid-season, end season.
Yeah.
All of those end at the same exact time, basically.
But I mean, what are you going to do, like in the like a 2-week break in the middle of every season for everyone to have an IEM?
Spring split and summer split.
Okay, maybe it could work out.
It could absolutely work. That's why I said you have 3. It's perfect. Yeah. It totally lends itself to it.
You could probably squeeze in a 4th.
You probably could if you want. Start it with the 3 because you have the 3 very obvious breaks.
Yeah.
And I think you could even probably throw another one into the off season.
Yeah, I think so.
You could definitely have one shortly after the season ends, and then 2 months later after the season ends.
Or maybe like a big international just challenger event for the off season or something
like that. Yeah, instead of you have a cool that even better.
Yeah.
Where you can have an international challenger event. We take your best challenger teams from North America, from Europe, from China, from Korea, from wildcard regions. You have a big fucking miniature Worlds.
Yeah.
Worlds 2. But this is the fucking amateur Worlds. That's awesome. This is awesome sound.
Get Riot on the phone right now.
Yeah, somebody write this down.
Yeah.
Somebody who is at Riot, if you're watching this, I don't even want a lot of money for it.
Just enough.
Just a little.
Just give us my student loan.
Throw us a bone.
Call it square. Yeah.
Come on. God damn it. These ideas don't come out of thin air. We put a lot of thought into them.
Tons of thought.
The most thought.
Didn't just make it up.
Did not just come out of this conversation.
Yeah.
Definitely talked about this beforehand at length. Sure we did. No, so I think, like I said, the more we talked about it, the more awesome it sounded. And I got really excited.
We really fleshed it out.
Yeah, right? Let's just write it down.
That was good.
I mean, at least we have it recorded, so we won't forget it.
Yeah. Copyright. Tower Dive. 2016.
At or C, TM, all that stuff. Tower Dive. Captain Hooks, Panda Man.
Mm-hmm. We probably use our real names on that one.
I don't want to give them our real names on here.
On the paperwork, it'll be our real names.
Oh, the paperwork. We'll sign. We're not going to post the paperwork on our podcast. That'd be weird.
That'd be ridiculous. Jeez.
Although I would probably post it just, with the signature part cut off.
Yeah.
Just to show.
Redacted.
We made that shit happen.
Redacted. No, that's good. That's good shit.
And
these new rule sets are kind of a step in the right direction.
And if for some reason somebody listened to us and that happens down the road, this is that step.
Yeah, we said it first. The only downside I can think of is that there's going to cease to be new teams, right? There's going to be your big 10 to 15 franchises, and then that's it. Those are the franchises that you have.
Here's the thing. How many times last season did you say, man, I wish there wasn't 10 teams in the LCS because these teams are dog shit at the bottom?
That's true.
But
I mean, there were a couple of times where I'm like, man, I wish these teams weren't still in the LCS.
They get tossed. I know. And I again, there is always going to be good and bad. You don't think other sports feel that way? But that's why then there is expansion.
God damn it, the Browns are still a team? Jesus Christ.
Exactly. Shit, they left them. They brought them back. But and that's where then you have the expansion of the conversation of expansion where the team's owners get together during the off seasons and they say, okay, how healthy is the league right now? Is everyone making money? Are we all doing well?
Is everyone making money? That's the first question.
That's the most important thing. Well, here's why, because you don't want to add another team if there are teams that aren't making any money.
Right.
Is everyone how much money are we making? This is awesome. The game has never been healthier. Esports has never been doing better. Do we want to add add 2 more teams? Because you always have to do it in 2s unless you have an odd number of teams.
Is it possible to subtract teams?
Contraction? Yeah, it happens. Absolutely. Again, are we making enough money? You see these teams here lying in the weeds, really not making enough money. They're not playing at a high enough level. They're traditionally at the bottom of the league. What do we do about them? Vote to contract. Or, is there a young team that's been playing in the Challenger Series that has done well that we can move into their spot?
Is that fair to that team that's getting contracted out, though?
If they're not doing well, and it's not something that's going to happen. Look at the spring split. This team sucked. Kick them out. No, it's like 3 years of being a cellar dweller.
Yeah.
Or 4 splits of being a cellar dweller and losing players and just not being competitive. Eventually, something has to happen. Either it's because it's probably it's an ownership issue. It becomes because if you're a franchise and you're TSM, and for some reason all of a sudden for spring split, summer split, spring split, summer split, you are just habitually 9th, 10th place, 9th, 10th place. You peak at 8, but you're always bad. And you sign players and they leave, and you sign players and they leave, and they don't want to. You try to sign players and they don't want to play for you. It becomes a management issue because there's obviously a reason. Either you are not offering competitive salaries because you're keeping money because you're trying to make more money, or your how you run your team isn't player friendly.
Maybe
whatever
your coach
it is,
sucks. Maybe
it stops being we just have bad players, and it starts to be there's a reason why you don't get good players and you can't retain talent because it is an ownership issue. And then you've given them the chance to try and redeem themselves.
You maybe put them on probation or something. Give them a warning. Hey, look, if you don't start working harder or make more or get some new sponsors.
Yeah, or just try to the reason you're not making money is because you're not spending money.
Yeah,
you're expecting mediocre players to play well above their station because you don't want to pay for star players.
Yeah, but you got to give them those mediocre players enough support to actually get better too.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, sure. And again, and that's where franchises and stuff.
That's the strength there.
Minor leagues, and where there being the potential of a minor league where you can say, all right, well, these players aren't doing well. Let's send them down for more seasoning and let's kind of change things up. We'll bring up a mid laner and a support because our mid laner support aren't really working well and they're struggling, and these guys will give them a chance. It gives new players a chance to play. It gives old players a chance to continue trying to maintain their careers,
but taking off a little bit of pressure at the same time.
Yeah, maybe they need that break from the LCS. Maybe it is too much trying to keep that high level of play going. I don't know, but I personally feel like this model helps out. The column of good versus bad is so much skewed in the good side. It's mind-boggling that they haven't attempted to do this yet. And maybe they haven't. It's just been met with a great deal of backlash. I don't know.
I think it'd probably be pretty tough to do it right now. I don't think there's enough players.
I do think there's enough players.
I don't think there's enough good players.
Well,
like LCS caliber players. I don't think
there's enough. A big handcuff, and this sucks, but a big handcuff is the foreign rule.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no.
But
I know why it's there.
Here's the thing. You franchise, you don't have to worry about foreign teams just shipping over teams and competing in our LCS.
No, you do kind of have to worry about just a whole bunch of foreign players just coming in.
Fine, then be better than them. That's the same thing every sport has right now.
That's
Be
true.
better than them.
Yeah, just be better.
Just be a better player, and then you don't have to worry about losing your spot.
Yeah.
Right now, the reason that Americans, don't want all of this Korean influx to come in is because then they have to work harder to try and keep their jobs. And they want that fat payola. Well, you only get that by being the best.
Yeah.
And being a pro infers you are the best. So if there's someone who's better than you that deserves your spot but isn't getting it simply because they're Korean or Chinese or Brazilian or Dutch or whatever it is, that's not right.
Straight up racism.
They're being held down because their region, they are not the best player. So they try to make a life for themselves and break into the scene in a different place, but they can't because you have to keep 3 American-born or North American
citizenship.
Yeah, however you want to refer to it as players on your roster.
But at the same time, if they're struggling in their own region, doesn't that whole be better logic still track?
I'm saying they're struggling. I'm saying they haven't gotten the opportunity.
Uh-huh.
They are Easy Hoon. They are these players who are great players who get the chances to play but can't start on their team because you're backing up Faker or you're backing up Marin or you're backing up Piglet or you're backing up these great players, Gank by Mom, Tracer, all these players. You don't get the opportunity to play because the people above you are better than you. Doesn't mean you're bad. It just means you play in a region that has significantly higher expectations out of their players.
And does that whole be better mantra not really work out then?
Does that what?
Be better mantra not really work out then? Like if they want playtime and if they want to,
but they are better. Just because they're not better in their region doesn't mean they're not better. That because they're Korean shouldn't mean that they can only play in Korea because, well, America, all of our teams already have the 2 Koreans or 2 Chinese or 2 foreign-born players that we're allowed to have right now. So you're stuck in your region because you're amazing and everyone thinks you're amazing, but you can't leave because right now we don't have room for you. You may be a top 10 in the world top laner, and you don't want to play in China, and you want to play in America, but you can't.
Mm-hmm.
I think being good is just being good. You should have the opportunity to play wherever you want and wherever you're wanted.
Yeah, that would be nice.
And again, I feel like that would drive the players in their respective regions to be better. If you don't want to be replaced by Seraph, be better than Seraph. Yeah. I mean, a bad example, but it's there.
It's a lot more applicable here than in because it's a team game. You have to have 5 people to play it. In StarCraft, when they got rid of region locking, every region got flooded with the mediocre Koreans, and so people lost interest in their own region's world championship as tournaments because they had none of their regional players were playing.
A single person, playing there, for them.
Yeah.
You're playing against other people, but it's just, you versus
and you are on a team, but
you're part of an organization. It's not really on a team. You're part of an organization.
Right.
It's like Hearthstone.
So it kind of works a little bit better in League of Legends just because you have to have the 5-man.
It's like the same. It's like It's like with the complaint the NBA had, where they're everybody is there's all foreign-born players from Europe and Eastern Europe and all those places. There's no more no more white people playing.
Well, be better at basketball.
Exactly.
Also be taller.
Do you want to play in the NBA? Be good at the game.
Yeah.
But all they do is import European talent. They're better than you are. I don't really know what other way I can break this to you. Do you want to play a professional sport? Then be very, very good at it. It is a professional sport, not a professional right. You get the opportunity.
Like a professional hobby, Don't just get to show up and do it.
Yes, if you want to play, then play intramurals if you just really want to play the game. But you are afforded the opportunity to play by being good, and just your nationality shouldn't have anything to do with that. And I know that they want to keep North America as got North American players, and Europe has European players, and China's Chinese, and Korea, blah, 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 blah. Why do you think there are no American players or European players playing in Korea on any teams?
Well, one, they're not good enough. Two, it's super hard to get on a team in Korea because most people aren't good enough.
Okay.
So,
like I said,
I mean, there's that.
It's just,
the thing about that is, though, having North American players be from North America, or North American teams have North American players, because that kind of adds a little more excitement to the world's aspect, right?
Sure, it creates a world. But again, if you're a CLG fan, you're a fan of CLG and want CLG to win. Whoever gets CLG the world championship, it doesn't matter. Getting that sweet, sweet title is what you want.
Yeah, I don't know if people...
team that wins. You're not rooting for just the player to win worlds.
I think a lot of fans aren't there yet, though. A lot of people are fans of players and not teams.
Right, and that's what Franchises is going to work to try and create long-lasting fans.
That. Because you have this brand that's going to be around forever.
Yeah,
right? You don't have to worry about your team getting relegated.
You could be a TSM fan even when Bjergsen retires because you stayed by them and Bjergsen was your favorite mid laner for 3 years, and then Bjergsen hung up his boots and became a coach, and then they got this new mid laner and he was okay, and they had their rough times and their rough patches, but you stick by your team. And that's, again, goes back to the Fandemonium episode that we did, because that is true fandom. Right. You stick by your team. You don't just root for players. But right now, League of Legends is very difficult to just pick your team, because outside of the handful that you have, you don't know who's going to be around.
Yeah.
You don't know if Energy is just going to decide to turn around and bag it and sell their team next season because the owner doesn't really like being
It's difficult to be a fan of teams like that.
Exactly. And that's what says it. And that's where it hurts the sport as a sport, because the only teams that have fans are the teams that have been around forever. And the only way you create long-lasting fans is having teams be around for a long time. It's such a Dutch door.
It's a vicious circle.
Indeed it is.
Yeah.
So I think this is the first steps towards franchises, which then creates so many more opportunities, so many more chances at sponsors, because again, also in making money, it's the most important thing.
Right.
If a sponsor is going to be much more attracted to a team if they know they're going to be there.
Right.
You're not going to want to throw your name on somebody if they only last half a fucking season and then they're out.
Because there's no return there, right?
There's no return there. There's no reason for big companies to invest in teams like that.
Yeah.
There's no return on your investment.
But if you're guaranteed to be in there for at least 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, then it's okay.
You have time to build something.
Exactly. We'll put, you just look at different companies, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, any of these other companies can
Gatorade.
be around.
Yeah,
Gatorade.
It doesn't have to be Red Bull Monster.
No, it could be just plenty of other of things out there. And again, I feel like the volatility of esports is what keeps a lot of those companies away.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they don't, they're not just gonna be like, we're a Riot Games sponsor.
Well, it's that, and I also think it's difficult to sell some players' personalities.
Sure,
right?
Because you're trying to sell, the what the world sees you as a nerd.
Yeah. No one gives a shit if Kiwi Kid's wearing Gillette razor on his jacket.
Yeah,
right. That's not making anyone buy more razors.
No one gives a crap that Impact is wearing a Adidas headband.
Yeah,
but we care. And you know what? It exposes brands to people that may not have been interested in those brands.
Yeah, I feel like maybe Degree deodorant has.
Old Spice?
Yeah, Old Spice. Basically anything Unilever probably has a great team right there, right ready to be purged to jump in.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And again, this is where, you got to let Brazzers and Naughty America and YouPorn sponsor teams. Here's your demographic right there.
Ruin everything.
A bunch of kids, a bunch of repressed kids.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
I don't know.
Could
you imagine?
I try not to.
Could you imagine Yellow Star and Double Lift doing like a L'Oreal commercial?
God, I didn't know where you were going with that. Well,
or something.
I was just talking about Brazzers and YouPorn.
No.
Can you imagine Yellow Star and Double Lift doing
Yeah.
Doing who? Doing porn?
It would do Reggie, I think. Yeah.
Oh, don't give Reggie the idea. That's a marketing
opportunity. Call that the trifecta.
Ooh.
That.
Tons of cringeworthy.
That. Gross.
So yeah. So that's the rules. That's our spin on them. That's
possibly the future of League of Legends.
You might have written the future of League of Legends. You heard it here first on episode 40.
You have to change your name to Hookstradamus.
Right?
Yeah. And I can be
I'll make that be a segment where I just put on like a turban.
Hookstradamus.
Hookstradamus.
I like it. I will tell you if
people League, can field questions.
If League moves to this franchise type format, there's going to be tons of backlash from non-League of Legends teams, right? Because no other tournament would be run like that. So if you have like C9 that has League of Legends and CSGO teams being a franchise with multiple teams and multiple different games, I'm sure they're probably not super happy about that. I don't know.
I think they'll definitely see the opportunity that they can have long-lasting careers and
for one of their teams. I mean,
teams like C9 and TSM that have good teams in other sports, in the eSports. I think that's good if they see, oh, well, look, they want a franchise. Well, maybe CSGO a franchise, and then, we'll have a great. Although I do think that there are a lot. The thing is, League is right now the only esport that is like a true league, as opposed to being a series of just
a series of tournaments
of different tournaments. Yeah. And, you get like, so it's really difficult to apply this unless they're going to adopt that whole entire,
Yeah. But thing. I mean, there are people out there that believe that the series of tournaments is the correct way to do it.
And I don't disagree with them. I'm not saying that this is the best way to do things, but if you're going to do things in such a manner where you're not going to have a series of tournaments, then you need to franchise. And
at least do it correctly.
Yeah, if you're going to do it, if you're going to adopt this idea as how we're going to run our business and how we're going to run our competitive scene, then do it the right way. Run it like a true league and run it like a true, team thing. I don't know.
That makes sense. Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just you're wasting time by not laying the groundwork for this kind of stuff.
Well, they are laying the groundwork for it now.
Well, now, but we're in season 6.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they didn't know what it was going to be.
It's not like the NBA popped up overnight.
Yeah.
They've been doing the same thing for over 100 years.
Yeah.
So it's not like you could look at it again. And I stand because I feel like it's partly arrogance. And maybe I'm overstepping by saying partly it's arrogance in the part of Riot Games thinking that they can do something, and we're going to do it a different way, though. We're not going to do it the way that CSGO, that Dota, that all these other esports have done it in the past, which is a series of tournaments. No, we're going to run a league, but we're not going to run a league the way that other already well-established old leagues have run their situation for hundreds of years. We're going to try something different. No, are you so fucking brash and so arrogant that you think you can create something different that's not different at all and would run better if it was run the same way?
I really think the big bottleneck, for this kind of thing is just the amount of LCS ready players. There's not enough players. You can't just take the top 100 of ladder and then have 100 players and turn that into an amateur scene and an LCS team. It's not going to be as good.
Listen, you think when Major League Baseball started that every single player was great? It was not.
Were they not good? When
the NBA started, every single player was the best player in the world? They weren't.
Yeah.
It's going to take time, but what it does is it cultivates something. It creates something. It gives more people the opportunity. So it makes you be better. Your first class of players, no, they're not going to all be the best. Your top 100 players, there may only be 30 players that are fucking worth shit.
Mm-hmm.
But does that mean that that's the way it's going to be for 25 years, whatever it is? No, of course not. Eventually there are going to be, it's going to go for, out of 100, 30 players were worth it. And then, 45. And then, 60. And all of a sudden it's like, well, we have 100 players in the league, but we have 175 people that are fucking just chomping at the bit to get in this league.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it cultivates a drive. It creates more competition, and it makes players want to be better because they see that it's actually a legitimate option for their career.
Mm-hmm.
For something when they're at that age and you're playing this game, whatever it may be at that time, but you're putting all this time into a game, and it's not just something you could do as a hobby. It's actually something you get paid for. It's actually something you can do that you could have sustained a success and monetary compensation more than just winning a couple of $100 in an online tournament.
Yeah.
And that's and that's I think what esports as a whole is hoping to have happen.
That's what everybody wants in the long run.
I mean, that's what I think all of this is leading towards, and at least what all they're trying to kind of corral esports towards is to be considered legitimate and real, and not be just something that is such a niche. I mean, bowlers, they've been professional for decades.
Mm-hmm.
Bowling is, I hate it.
It's not interesting.
No, just professional pool players.
People might take League of Legends more seriously than they do bowling.
I do.
Yeah.
But like I said, I hate bowling. But what I'm saying is that you have all these other things that, yeah, they're niche, but they get, respect.
Right.
Because they're run in a way that's professional.
Yeah.
League just, in esports as a whole, just needs to kind of find their footing in that and say, this is how we're going to do it from now on.
Mm-hmm. And then put their foot down.
Instead of changing things and adapting. And yes, I know that's the growing process, the learning process. But you shouldn't have to learn when there are already blueprints out there for you to look at.
They just have to implement it,
Exactly. You just bite the bullet. You're going to piss off probably a whole lot of people when you do it. But you want to know what? In the long run, those people that are pissed off are going to be the ones that will hold you back from making that next step.
And they're also probably the ones that are, ready to move on to Dota 2 anyway.
Or they're on the cusp of being out of it anyway. The only reason they're hanging on is because they have the opportunity to hang on without having to buy in, so to speak.
Yeah.
Force them to be like, listen, it's this or you're out. Well, then we're out. Well, you'll be missed. Sorry. This is what we're doing going forward. This is the way League of Legends is going to operate from this point on to the foreseeable future. Maybe we'll change things here and there, but minor tweaks, tightening the screws and loosening the gears and whatever we need to do to make this better. But this is the machine. This is how it's going to work.
I am the machine.
And this is how it's always going to work. And that's what they need to do. They need to bite the bullet and piss some people off.
That'll never happen. There's way too much risk there because
they're too hell bent on making everyone happy.
Yeah.
By making nobody happy.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we're going to cater towards the pros. Well, you've pissed off your whole community. All right, well, we're going to try and make the game more accessible to everybody. Well, then you pissed off your core audience.
Yeah.
It's just, fucking take a stance, bite the bullet, say this is how we're going to do things. They're going to stick by it.
And actually come out and say it. No teases. Yeah. No fucking TLDRs.
Stop sitting in the corner with your fucking dick in your hand and just do it. God damn it.
Got a little fiery there at the end.
Yeah, it is, man.
That's good. Yeah.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
I think that's a good button on that topic, too.
Right? I think it's just cross the T, dot the lowercase j.
Yeah, that's good. So I think we're going to do a little bit of a shorter show tonight. So while we're headed towards the end of it here, let's do we had our Fantasy Fan LCS draft.
Yeah, that was supposed to be streamed live, but instead I just previewed it for...
Somebody didn't hit the record button for the entire thing.
Might have been somebody else.
For those of you that came out, it was great talking to you. We had some good discussions. We also listened in on somebody's solo queue game, and that was super awkward.
Yeah, he was really into his game, though, so more power to him.
Yeah, no AFK for him, so that's, kudos.
Yeah.
That guy. So now I think what we're going to do is, now that the draft is settled and we've had time to really think about our rosters and our pick choices.
And now that we are on the eve of CS.
And we're head-to-head this first week, too.
Apropos, it is the Hooks Pan.
Yeah, El Clasico.
This is the El Clasico. This is when people in 10 years from now is what people will be talking about. Yeah. It's the week 1, season 6 Fantasy LCS matchup in Tower Dive Inc. I don't know if I have buyer's remorse or I'm more angry with certain people that I had to take that I didn't want.
Okay.
So I guess it's a form of buyer's remorse, but I don't know.
A little bit, yeah.
I don't know who I would have picked. I don't think I had
it. Because when you have 8 people in a league, you start to run out of picks pretty fast.
Yeah, and I don't think we were expecting that because we've usually been in 6-team leagues.
Yeah, and you got tons of people.
Yeah, it's just like I'm gonna come out of my ears.
Yeah, I had like last season I got Fabevan and Reckless.
I had Yellow. I was terrible. I'm a bad example.
Yeah, you were the worst.
I had Yellow Star and nothing else. No, like I felt, I was like, all right, you know what? I can pick a top laner a little bit later on.
Yeah.
And I got Otawamne, and I don't not like Otawamne, but I felt like my plan was blown up because they didn't have a great plan. I was like, oh, I'm just going to get these guys. Nobody's going to pick these guys. Damn it, you all picked these guys. I hate you all.
I had the same problem.
I had so many times over the course of that draft that the person picking before me picked the player I wanted.
Yeah.
Probably 5 times.
Oh, yeah.
That happened. It was mostly you.
That only happened in the first 3 rounds because all of those sleepers you were talking about in the previous show, not sleepers, good picks. Those
guys you said weren't sleepers?
They're not sleepers. They're just good picks. It's different. Well, they weren't secret.
They were secret up until I let the secret out.
Yeah. I kind of had the same...
That's out of the bag. You took my advice.
I kind of had the same problem as you. I waited a real long time for my top laner. I ended up with...
your top laner.
I ended up with Wonderwear, which...
Splay.
I don't know... I mean, it was fine. It was late in the round, late in the pick. But at the same time, I don't know if he's going to put up any points.
He's got a really good week, though.
Yeah, he's got a good week, and
Elements.
That team's been playing together for a really long time.
Yeah, so. No, listen, that might be a good pick. That might end up being a really good pick, actually.
Yeah, but I'm a little bit nervous about it. I also ended up with CLG's bot lane of Afro and Stixay.
This just makes you look like a chumpy fan.
I know. I didn't really want them. I mean, Afro will put up points.
Yeah, Afro was a good pick.
I needed a flex. There were literally no mid laners left. I'm like, well, I guess I'll pick Stixay.
He's an 80 carry though.
Yeah, I know, because I wanted a mid laner.
Oh, you wanted a mid laner. Oh, you wanted a mid laner.
I wanted a mid laner. There was nobody. It was going to be like a shifter.
I was so concerned as to why nobody was picking Bjergsen.
Yeah, me too.
And then I picked him, and I'm like, is there something that I don't know? Is he dead?
Did he get hurt? He's got wrist problems.
Is he suspended for 6 weeks?
Yeah.
So I picked him, and I like Bjergsen. I think he's a very good player, incredibly gifted player.
Puts up points too.
Yeah, I'm just now I'm worried. Now I'm nervous.
Yeah, that's good.
So it's one player that you wish you had. Your roster right now. I mean, don't make it like stupid and obvious. But if you could say, you know what, if I could, I would trade this player for this. I would say, like I said, don't make it dumb.
No, I would trade Stixay for Forgiven. Definitely.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would.
Well, Forgiven's kind of a risk, Sometimes he doesn't.
Yeah, but he's on a very good team right now.
I'm a little bit nervous about Gank by Mom, but I think that's pretty good. I would also trade Wonderwear for a handful of other top laners. But I mean, top laner is such a no one gives a shit about top laner. They're gonna get 15 or 20 points as long as they win one game.
It might be more impactful this season.
It might be, but right now the meta's so tank heavy, it might not be impactful at all.
Let's see.
Yeah.
The biggest thing like I said, Otawamne, I'm not in love with. And I'll be honest, I really was hesitant to get Jankos, despite the fact that he's looked very good.
Yeah.
I just, for some reason, was very hesitant on that. Listen, that may turn out to be one of my best picks. I got him so late.
Yeah.
That may turn out to be amazing.
It could be a winner.
He's on as a really good team. But also, Conquan scares the bejesus out of me.
Oh, yeah?
Scares the living bejesus out of me.
Yeah.
I feel like support is my weakest spot.
Yeah.
Because my backup support is High.
That's rough. High doesn't get any points ever, no matter what role he's in.
Yeah.
I mean, you do have Alltech there kind of carrying them as well.
I feel like I felt really good about the all-tech pick.
Yeah.
I felt really good about the reckless pick.
Yeah. Yeah, reckless will get you points too.
So I'm hoping, but yeah, like my remorse really comes from my top lane and my jungle, and it's not because I don't respect them as players. It's just that I had a different plan going in, and they were not part of it.
That's basically me too. It's like I'm just gonna wait on my top.
I'll tell you right now, my plan was really, Spirit and Hard were going to be my top and jungle, but you picked Spirit.
I picked Spirit,
and I didn't want to force to pick Hard because then I didn't have the jungler that I wanted. I didn't want to go Hard and Yankos, so I ended up with Hard. But then I was like, I need to get whoever the best top laner is available right now. So that was what I forced it to Odo. That was why I went Odoamne in that direction instead.
Yeah.
So it really, you really threw because it was gonna go like I was like, all right, I'll pick Spirit here. Then I can, it pushes everything else that I need to do because then I had my high impact picks.
Yeah.
Because I already had all tech. I already had Bjergsen at the time. I might have already had Reckless, and I was like, okay, well it's good. I can get Spirit, and then no one's gonna pick Hard until late in the game, and I feel confident getting him. I was like, I can see what other picks are still available at that point. But I'm good.
Yeah.
And then you completely threw a fucking monkey wrench.
Sorry,
Because then I was hoping to pick a team. Because then I wanted Origin. I was like, I can go Spirit.
Then I picked Origin.
Origin. Yeah, you really took so many of my picks.
Well, I was right before you.
Half the time.
Yeah. So
only half the time I was before you.
We were butt buddies there.
Asshole.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Ruining everything I'm trying to do here.
Well, on that high note, let's wrap up the show.
Yes. On the high note of you ruining everything of mine, why I can't have nice things. This has been another fucking letdown. Thanks, guys. As always, it's been a blast. We are closing in on 1 year.
Yeah, we're getting there.
For those that have
a couple of you have been with us the whole way.
A couple of you have been with us since close to the beginning. I don't think anybody's been there from the beginning because I don't think there was anybody at the beginning. But a few of you have been there.
I kind of count Merrick a little bit because he did listen to every episode before we interviewed him.
I love that bastard.
So there's that.
I love that bastard. Merrick, if you're listening, keep being awesome.
We should plug his podcast. Do you know what it's called?
We should plug his podcast, and I do know what it's called.
Yeah.
Just give me a second to get the
after we interviewed Merrick, he was one of the moderators on the League of Legends subreddit. He wanted to clear up some of this drama that was going on, and he was gracious enough to come on our show and give his side of the story. But after doing that, he was inspired to do his own podcast, and he started a Pokemon themed show, and it's actually been doing really well.
Yeah. And I am working on finding it as we speak.
He's done a great job building up a pretty robust Twitter follower, much more robust than ours. And I think it's some good stuff. So if you're into Pokemon, you should definitely head on over there and check that out. He's a super guy, just super.
Also knows an insane amount about Pokemon in general.
Hence him making the podcast.
It's the Pokemon Go podcast.
Yeah, there it is.
I knew it was Pokemon podcast, but I'm sure there already is that.
Yeah.
But it's Pokemon Go podcast.
I'm sure you can find it on iTunes.
Yeah. His name is Joe. He's not going by Merrick on it. He's going by Joe. So if you're into that, we're plugging something that's completely not League of Legends, but listen, don't deny it. You love Pokemon too.
Who doesn't?
I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, their podcast is actually a good time. And he's a great guy. So if you have the opportunity and you're looking for something cool to listen to about something slightly nerdy, but in a good way, definitely give them a shot. But other than that, we are Tower Dive. We will always be Tower Dive unless someone pays us a lot of money to change our name. I, of course, am the ever eloquent Captain Hooks.
And I am the slightly less eloquent Panda Man.
And thanks for listening, and we will see you on the Rift.
Bye-bye.